This is Change Radio News. Today is Thursday, the 10th of March 2022, and the news is read by Nora Mushanga. And for stories making the headlines, President Chamisa rolls out Agenda 2022. Fuel prices up again, barely a week after another rise. Violence victim CCC councillor candidate appears in court. And now, the stories in detail. President Nelson Chamisa this evening will roll out the national agenda for the year 2022. The agenda for this year is themed Citizens Action for Change. The president earlier this year said 2022 is a year of citizens' action towards working for change in 2023. Among some of the actions expected from citizens are voter registration and resistance to dictatorship. Change Radio will broadcast the event live on its social media platforms starting from 7 p.m. Fuel prices have gone up again, barely a week after another upward review. From the information released by the Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority, a litre of petrol is now pegged at $1.68 United States dollars from $1.55 United States dollars, while diesel will now be sold at $1.67 United States dollars, up from $1.51 United States dollars. Meanwhile, Minister of Energy and Power Development Soda Jemu has emotionlessly told citizens to park their cars if they cannot afford fuel. CCC Secretary for Energy Honorable Jasmine Tofa said Jemu's comments are unfortunate and shows the carefree attitude of the government on citizens' plight. She said,
"Whilst we acknowledge the war happening in Ukraine and understand the impact it has on a global scale, we must, however, not jump onto the bandwagon of blaming the war for our own hike in fuel prices and basic commodities. We have been struggling with these issues long before this war, and things are going to get worse. Minister Soda should be looking at ways of lightening the burden, or rather sharing the burden of the fuel price hike, so that the citizens do not carry the full burden alone. As this is not a situation caused by Zimbabwe, it is circumstantially caused by the current unrest in Russia and Ukraine. He should, on behalf of government, through his ministry, see how the cost of bread and butter issues will minimally be impacted upon its citizens, as they are already struggling. He should also see how the business sector, mining, manufacturing, agriculture, that are grappling to survive can be helped. Given the opportunity to stand in his shoes, with fuel being the economic driver, I would, in the interest of the entire nation, the business sector, which ultimately affects the ordinary citizen, such as women and children, which, as I spoke to earlier on, touches on bread and butter issues that government's eyes must always be concerned about. The minister should review the taxes and see which one he can cut down on or temporarily remove, pending improvement of the situation.
Meanwhile, Dutuma, a Citizens Coalition for Change candidate in the upcoming by-elections for Ward 26 in Highfield, Harare, has today appeared before a Harare magistrate. Dutuma was heavily assaulted by ZANU-PF thugs on Tuesday afternoon, but somehow the police slapped Dutuma with charges on allegations that he assaulted one of his tormentors. Our reporter was at the Rotten Row courts today, and he gave us this report.
Maxwell Dutuma, a councillor candidate for Ward 26 in Highfield West, Harare, who was brutally assaulted by ZANU-PF thugs on Tuesday, today was released from state custody after the public prosecutor said that the state's case was very weak. Dutuma was released at court without appearing before a magistrate. The state's witness on the case also did not show up at the court. Dutuma was visibly in pain and heavily bandaged. Reporting for Change Radio, live from Bari Magistrate Courts, my name is Stephen Chuma.
An elections monitoring local non-governmental organization, Zimbabwe Elections Support Network, ZESN, has said citizens are now afraid of wearing yellow outfits for fear of attack by ZANU-PF thugs. In its monitoring report, ZESN regret a spate of violence by ZANU-PF supporters targeted at CCC members for merely wearing their party regalia. The organization said currently the environment is not free and fair for political players ahead of by-elections slated for March 26. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom has condemned comments made by the ZANU-PF government Vice President Constantine Chiwenga that CCC members are like lice that must be crushed with rocks. Let's listen to what was said when the UK government was asked by Lord Jonathan Oates to condemn Chiwenga comments in the House of Lords.
Be aware that at a ZANU-PF rally on February 26th, Vice President Chiwenga said of the Opposition Citizens Coalition for Change, "You see how we crush lice. You make it on a flat stone and then flatten it to the extent that even flies will not make a meal of it. That is what we are going to do to the CCC." The following day, a CCC rally was attacked with iron bars, machetes and spears. One opposition supporter was killed and many more hospitalised. Will the government condemn the Vice President's violent incitement and work with the international community to hold the Zimbabwean government accountable for the safety and security of all Zimbabweans who should have the right to freely elect their leaders without fear of violence or intimidation?
Yeah. My Lords, I'd like to thank the noble Lord, and I agree that such language inciting political violence has no place in any country, including Zimbabwe. We urge the government of Zimbabwe to live up to their constitution in ensuring that all political parties are allowed to operate and campaign without harassment. As our ambassador publicly stated after the death of the CCC supporter at the rally of the 27th of February, we urge the police to fully investigate any acts of political violence and bring the perpetrators to justice.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Russia is carrying out war crimes in Ukraine after the Russians bombed a maternity hospital in Mariupol. Reports say so far 3 people, including a child, died from the blast, while more are buried in the rubble. Mr. Zelensky has once again called to the world to act now before it's too late and call on NATO to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Citizens Coalition for Change Vice President Honorable Tendai Biti today addressed a campaign rally at Panari in Tafara, Harare. Honorable Biti is battling it out with other candidates to retain Harare East seat, which fell vacant after his recall by Douglas Monzora. Let's hear part of his address today.
You were key and essential where 30,000 of our people perished. You were essential and key. Pahondo yakaitika. Runoff election that June 2008, pakauraiwa thousands and thousands of Zimbabwe, pakapondwa vana across the length and breadth of Zimbabwe, nekuti Morgan Tsvangirai anga awina. You were key, you were essential. Tinoziva zvavakaita kuchaona kuti weshe, where one family ekwana Hilton Chironga lost 15 people on one day. Tinoziva zvavakatiitira muno mumabhuku, ukatibatira Sergeant Tondera Indira akadisappear. Sezvandogara ndichitaura, Tondera Indira was murdered. Both parts were taken from him. Paakazowanikwa Tondera Indira akakwana mu 5 kilogram packets yechibataura vakamurecogniza nebhengo rekopa raaipfeka kuleft wrist yake. So we know your fingerprints, Emerson Mnangagwa. We have seen these fingerprints in the past few weeks in Zimbabwe since the formation and the announcement of the Citizens Coalition for Change. We appeal to you, my brother, to desist from violence. Violence haina zvainosolva. Violence haisi means yekusolva kutambudzika kuri kuita vanhu. We have one central crisis in Zimbabwe, the crisis of legitimacy, the crisis of leadership. Hauna kuwina election ya 31st July of 2018. It doesn't matter kuti watirova tese. It doesn't matter kuti watiuraya tese. It doesn't matter kuti watiimprisona tese. It won't resolve the critical question of the day, which is who is the legitimate leader of Zimbabwe pursuant to the July 2018 election.
This weekend, President Nelson Chamisa takes the Yellow Revolution to Marondera Central, where he is expected to address at Rudaka Stadium in Marondera. Triple C MP candidate for Marondera Central constituency, Honorable Caston Mateu, said preparations for the big event are going on smoothly and expects a record crowd at Rudaka. Mateu said,
we are very excited about Saturday because this is an historic event where we have our President, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, addressing the crowd as a Triple C President for the very first time. So it's historic in that sense. In terms of our expectations, I know the people of Marondera very well, and I know they will cover the whole stadium to capacity. And we are certain that come 26 March, we will be trotting to victory. Myself and the six councillors that we are with in this election. So we're confident because we know the people of Marondera, they want change. They want it like yesterday. They have been betrayed because they had no representation for the past 2 years because we were illegally recalled by Douglas Togara Monzora. And now this is a chance for the Marondera people to speak out and with one voice and say, give us back our people. With this new party at Triple C, that is going to send this country and its citizens to prosperity. Thank you.
Meanwhile, after addressing Marondera, the People's President Advocate Nelson Chamisa will descend on the border town of Beitbridge on Sunday, where he is expected to address by-elections campaign rally at Dulibadzimu Stadium. Former Beitbridge Mayor and Triple C Deputy National Organizer Morgan Ncube said the people of Beitbridge are ready for a date with the man of the moment. President Chamisa will then proceed to hold a rally at Cholocho Business Center grounds on Monday, the 14th of March, and at Siabua Business Center in Binga on Tuesday, the 15th of March. At Change Radio, we encourage citizens to become registered voters for the upcoming 2023 general elections. Change Radio will be broadcasting an hour-long voter registration center awareness program at 2 p.m. CAT every day. For more information on the voters registration centers, please call the free phone number 080-80219. The number again, 080-80219. And in the by-elections to be held on the 26th of March, we urge citizens to go and vote in their numbers and to protect their vote by not leaving the polling stations until the results have been announced. Teachers have said the government has used both concessions and repression tactics as a way of silencing teachers from continuing with their demands. Speaking to Change Radio, Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe President Obet Masaraure said it is unfortunate that some of their sister organizations have fallen for the government trap of small concessions and empty promises. Masaraure said as a union they believe in power of collective bargaining as opposed to individual unions bargain. He said,
we are engaging the government of Zimbabwe, kindly asking them to dump their attitude of trying to escalate repression against teachers who genuinely demanded their salaries beginning 7 February 2022 through a peaceful job action, a peaceful protest. The teachers went on to even make a concession of agreeing to go back to work for 2 days a week. At a time when government had only considered by giving USD $100. We thought those were enough concessions. But now that the government is dumping those concessions and going on to escalate repression against our members for having participated in that particular action, we only note that the government is inciting retribution from the teachers, because the teachers are not going to watch while they are being victimized. We are going to be forced to completely withdraw our labor once again. So we are urging government in the best interest of our learners to embrace the new order where we only work for 2 days, for that is the amount which is commensurate to the amount of salary they are giving us. If they want us to be working for the whole week, they should move on and pay us a salary which is commensurate with a war week, which is USD 540. The 540 is no longer even adequate, but we still maintain we only need that. But if government continues with this attitude of repression, then our classrooms will be completely closed once again.
Meanwhile, another teachers' union, PTUZ, has announced the 2022 school's first term is a wasted period because classes did not take place due to incapacitation of teachers. PTUZ President Dr. Takawafira Joe said the government is to blame for all that because they buried their heads in the sand instead of addressing teachers' concerns. He said,
"Indeed, the first term for 2022 has been a wasted period in terms of learning. Fundamentally, schools prematurely opened when teachers were not prepared to open schools as they were incapacitated. So the period 7 February to 22 February witnessed teachers staying at their homes when they were supposed to be in schools because they were grossly incapacitated. It was only after getting their starvation salaries that they started to report for work from 22 February onwards. But there were also other issues like involvement of teachers in ZEC, as well as marking of ZIMSEC examinations that kept a considerable number of teachers out of schools. And as if it was not enough, the Minister of Education has tried to victimize teachers, is engaging in witch hunting, trying to victimize teachers for failure to report for work due to incapacitation. The Minister of Education believes that teachers were not really incapacitated, they were deliberately sabotaging government efforts and not reporting for work, but such claims are a figment of imagination of the Minister of Education, as teachers are grossly incapacitated following their cooling of salaries from 540 to the current less than $100 US. The only way forward that can guarantee meaningful teaching and learning in schools is an issue that would address the plight of teachers, the salaries and conditions of teachers, but it seems the Minister of Education is far detached from reality and wants to punish teachers, whereas the Minister of Education is not the employer but Public Service Commission, and the Minister of Education is surely offside.
Award-winning journalist Hopewell Chingana has exposed another corruption scandal after he said he had spoken to the South African-based engineers contracted to build the Mbuzi roundabout, who told him the real cost of the construction is $42 million and not the $85 million that we are told by the government. The company went further to say the $85 million was grant theft. Seeking to cleanse its battered image, the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, through its General Court Martial, has sentenced 3 of its members to 15 years imprisonment. The 3, who are Lance Corporal Fortune Ndlovu, Private Rachel Manyanga, and Private Kainos Masase, committed a spate of robberies in Mashingo, where they were stationed at Infantry 4 Battalion. And for the COVID-19 updates, Last night, the Health Ministry said Zimbabwe had recorded 706 new cases of COVID-19. Sadly, 7 people died from complications related to the virus. At Change Radio, we continue to urge citizens to wear masks, to sanitize, to practice social distancing, and to get vaccinated. And finally, sports. Fuel company Secunda Holdings has struck a deal with Harare City Council that will see the company temporarily owning the iconic Rufaro Stadium for a couple of years before handing back to the City Council. Under the deal, Secunda will make refurbishments to the stadium in line with international standards. Referred to as the traditional home of football, Rufaro Stadium had of late become derelict and lying idle. Amounts and figures in the deal, however, have not yet been released. Here are the football results from the UEFA Champions League. Betis 1, Frankfurt 2, FC Porto 0, Lyon 1. And to end the bulletin, here are the headlines once more. President Chamisa rolls out Agenda 2022. Fuel prices up again barely a week after another rise. And violence victim CCC councillor candidate appears in court.